Hey Lorain County Hoops fans, welcome back to another episode of In the Paint, brought to you by First Federal Savings of Lorain. I'm your host, Rocco Nushi, with the one and only Kristen Bauer behind the camera. Before we get started, as always, just want to remind you to like and subscribe to that Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel. It's the best and easiest way, folks, to keep up with all the latest content, all the latest video drops, and much, much more. So like and subscribe to that Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel. Turn on that bell notification icon to keep up to date with all of the latest stuff we got going on here at the CT and WEOL. So what the heck has happened in this past week of high school basketball? Well, we'll start on the boys' side as usual, and it's the Keystone boys that are just on fire right now. It all really got started last Friday night. You heard it on WEOL, actually. They knock off Columbia 49-41 in what was an incredible defensive effort by Coach Holzhauer's crew. That's really where they're hanging their hat right now, is on the defensive side of the ball. They followed that up with a 62-51 win over Firelands earlier this week. And how about Grant Hartley? I had him unofficially at 33 points in that win against Fireland. So an excellent showing from Grant Hartley. The kid had 20 points in that fourth quarter, really taking over as Keystone had the edge early. Firelands came storming back, courtesy of a couple of Christopher Radman three balls, but Keystone able to hold on. They take over in that fourth quarter with Grant Hartley, and again, scoring 20 points in that final frame to lead his team to victory. But at the top of that Lorain County League still sits those pesky Brookside Cardinals. They dropped two non-conference games late in December, and I kind of think that a bit of a fire within those Cardinals, because they've rattled off three straight ever since, knocking off Oberlin, Wellington, and then Black River. Going to that win over Black River, Nolan Wechter had a game-high 27 as that kid continues to light things up offensively. Of course, Avery Young had 20 points as well, so combined 47 points for Wechter and Young. Those two have pretty much done it all season long on that side of the floor, just really filling things up offensively. Very excited to see what they can continue to do moving forward. A team I mentioned in there, Oberlin, they got destroyed by Elyria on Saturday. No way around it, but they bounced back in a huge way over Columbia earlier this week, going on the road to the Raider Dome and getting a 49-48 win. Nate Borling had 35 points for the Raiders, but it wasn't quite enough. Josiah Bowen Pride leading the way for Oberlin with 22 points. So that was a very nice win for Oberlin. They've had an up and down year at times, so that was a really impressive road win for Coach Phil Payne's crew. Over in the SWC, how about those Avon Lake Shoremen, folks? They stay undefeated right now. 10-0 on the season. They knocked off Elyria last Friday night. 63-50 was the final score there. They had a big 10-0 run late third quarter, early fourth quarter to pull out that victory. Isaac Richardson had 17. Peyton Lurch had 16. They followed that up with a 64-42 win earlier this week over Olmsted Falls. And Isaac Richardson, again, 24 points, as that kid continues to be a force inside. Very, very tough to stop defensively. So Avon Lake, they continue to roll. They've got a huge Friday night matchup this week with North Ridgeville. Rangers and Shoremen duking it out Friday night. Should be a lot of fun. You can hear that one on WEOL, but more on what's to come this week and weekend here in a little bit. Talked about Elyria. They've rattled off two straight wins. They had that win over Oberlin on Saturday. Again, 67-33 was the final there. You actually heard it on WEOL. And a kid we've talked about a lot, Jaden Crutcher. Very impressive showing. He had 7 3 balls, 26 total points. So Jaden Crutcher continuing to have a nice season. You know, defenses really like to game plan around Ryan Walsh, so he's kind of needed a Robin to his Batman, if you will, and Crutcher has been that and more so far this season. And then earlier this week, maybe one of the most impressive wins of the season, Elyria was down 3 of their key guys, but they still find a way to go into Amherst and knock off the Comets 64-55. Ryan Walsh led the way with 19 points, but how about Stephen Furcron? 9 points, 8 rebounds for the young man. A very nice showing for Elyria in that one. And finally in the SWC, big shout out to Midview. They rebound after a 2-loss weekend earlier this week. They knock off Avon 44-43. Erman Plas had a game high 17 points, had the game-winning shot towards the end of that one. So shout out to Midview for pulling that one out. Let's talk about the girls' side as well here. We'll start with Firelands, where the Lady Falcons, I should say, handed Keystone their first loss of the season over the weekend. So big shout out to first-year head coach Onyx Lopez, what might be her biggest coaching win so far as a head coach. Bella Simmons led the way with 14 points. Lexi Schrader chipped in 10 as well. So now you've got a bit of a logjam at the top of that Lorain County League right now on the girls' side. Heading into this week, Columbia, Keystone, and Firelands all at 6-1. Again, to start the week in conference action. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how things continue to unfold later in the month and as we get closer and closer to February. How about 2 straight wins for the Wellington girls as well? They knocked off Brookside and in Clearview within the past week. You had a double-double for Brooke Lemcool in that win over the Clippers. She had 23 points and 11 rebounds, so a nice showing for Brooke there. Taylor Morris finishing that contest with 16 points, so Wellington playing much better basketball right now on the girls' side. And those Midview girls, man, they still haven't lost since we last spoke. They had 2 impressive wins in this past week, first over Strongsville and then against North Ridgeville. Looking at that game against the Lady Rangers, it was the usual suspects again. Olivia DeFranco, 17 points for her. Another double-double for Mary Mang, 13 points and 19 rebounds for Mary Mang, just owning the glass there. And then Leah DeFranco and Grace Seymour each had 10 points for the Lady Middies. So you had 4 total girls in double figures. That was a stat that Coach Brittany McNamara Cole was very, very proud of after the game. I mean, we know with Olivia and Mary, they're going to garner a lot of the attention night in and night out. Who else can step up, though, for that Lady Middies team? Well, on that occasion, it was, again, Leah DeFranco, Grace Seymour. They each had 10 points. So that sets up a big matchup with Avon this week with Midview. So that one should be a lot of fun there. And a team I don't think have talked about at all this year. How about those First Baptist girls, 11-1 after a weekend win? They picked up a 35-24 W over Open Door on Saturday. Senior guard Chloe Mang led the way with 21 points. So a big shout out to first-year head coach Jen Mang over there at First Baptist. Really doing some nice things with that ball club. So that brings us to this week's College Corner, where we like to revisit a former Lorain County standout athlete to see what they're doing on the collegiate level right now. We're going to go all the way over to South Carolina upstate, where guard and former North Ridgeville standout Izzy Geraci, a 2018 alum from North Ridgeville, is having a heck of a campaign so far. She was at Cleveland State. She's a grad transfer, again, at upstate this year, so her final year of college ball, but she's going out with a bang, averaging 10 points, 7 rebounds per contest. This past week, she was actually the Big South Conference co-player of the week. She scored double figures in back-to-back games and actually led her program to their first ever win over High Point. So the fact that she was able to get her program, again, their first ever win over another school, very, very impressive stuff. In their 2 wins last week, she had 29 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 steal, again, to be named Big South Conference co-player of the week. So that is this week's College Corner star, South Carolina upstate guard and former North Ridgeville standout guard, Izzy Geraci. So that brings us to a close here. What will be coming up this week in terms of high school basketball? Well, I'll tell you what. Friday night on the boys' side, told you about it already, Avon Lake and North Ridgeville. That one should be a ton of fun, huge SWC implications. It'll be a fast, physical game, no doubt about it, and you can catch the action live, of course, on WEOL. A couple of other SWC, well, one other SWC matchup, I should say. Midview will be at Elyria this weekend. That one should be a lot of fun. And then Black River visits Oberlin in the Lorain County League, so that should be another good one there. On the girls' side, on Saturday, Avon is at Amherst Saturday afternoon. You can hear that one live on WEOL. 2 good SWC clubs there. And then North Ridgeville is at Avon Lake. We'll see if the Lady Rangers can bounce back this weekend to take on a much improved Avon Lake team. So that'll do it for this week. A lot happening right now in the Lorain County high school basketball scene. Conference standings, teams starting to kind of separate themselves. You got some log jams at the top of a couple of our conferences as well. So this should be a lot of fun as we move towards the second half of the season. So again, that'll do it for this week. For Kristen Bauer behind the camera, I'm your host, Rocco Nushi, saying thank you for watching another episode of In the Paint, brought to you by First Federal Savings of Lorain. We'll see you guys next week.